so much. First of all, thank you so much for coming to San Jose. Are you guys excited he's here?
I'm so proud of that show. Got this Monday is Sal Vulcano from Impractical Jokers, and we have an absolute blast.
Well, the thing that's interesting, people might think like, oh, he has a show, it's like a talk show. No, it's total badass adventure, like action. Can you kind of...
Something from my world like Becky Lynch. She's never been on a four-wheeler in her life, and you know, man, that's one of the things I do. Is you saw that clip of me driving that four-wheeler on that limo. You know, I've been riding four-wheelers my whole life, so to get a chance to introduce her to something like that, or to take Trace Savage a lot, you know, in my days making personal appearances, and me getting a chance to go around a racetrack with Dale Earnhardt Jr. So it's basically, you know, myself and a guest hanging out and getting to know each other, and you know, bonding and forming that chemistry and that conversation through these activities and through humor.
Well, it's fun.
I mean, it is, but I think Becky, the man, is her own entity. You know, I was kind of the anti-authority thing, and you know, I process things, information, maybe a little bit differently than she does. And she's very well spoken. She's a badass promo. She's very confident. You know, when you watch his show, if you watch his show, it's a 30-minute show. That's 22 minutes of content. But it takes all day to film this thing. So I hang out with these people 12 hours during the day, so you really get a chance to know them. And Becky just lives right down the street from me, but she's always on the road. So just to hang out with her and get a sense of who and what she is and how hard she's worked, and listening to the heights that she and Charlotte and Rhonda contributed to that, all of the women. So it's just amazing, but she's a badass person. Is there a comparison? Yes, but she's the man, Becky Lynch, and I was stoned.
You grew up and you know, your generation of superstars was different, was in a way wilder, and you guys kind of got away with
public traded company for the obvious reasons. So it is what it is, but I mean, you can still take the business to the heights that it was. I just think there needs to be, create that sense of urgency and that atmosphere, and in my opinion, you know, wins and losses do matter. You can't have 50-50 booking, but you can still entertain the hell out of people as they just have that sense of urgency and, you know, back emotions, you know, move, you know, everything, and they sell, that sells tickets or creates interest. So, you know, more character work.
Yeah, what is it like?
A lot, but you know, I really got a chance to hang out with Sly a lot and fighting with him, and a 32 on the call sheet. Sly was #1. So I was down in the fight camp with each other, and Sly got a couple of stitches right above his hairline, so we had to call it a day. But here's the thing, when you're number 32 on the call sheet, and you're fighting with #1, and even though he effed up, it's my fault, because he's #1 on the call sheet. But it was a lot of fun, and I find being on movie sets kind of boring or monotonous or same old. So I'm really happy, you know, doing the things I'm doing with my show. But Sly was badass, and all those guys were super cool.
Well, it's a really good point. I mean,
out of that fight scene, because there was a lot more ass whooping than they showed. But it was fun. But I'm a loner. And so hanging around people all day, you know, sometimes it gets on my nerves. I'm glad all y'all showed up. But left to my own devices, I love being by myself.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I gotta make a solo movie where I'm the only actor.
Hey, a one-man show. I mean, I can see it happening. Hi.
And oncoming popularity of AEW, do you think that their entrance into the professional wrestling scene signifies a similar situation with the Monday Night Wars, like what happened back in the 1990s?
Man, I think just because there's competition that's on a major platform with a lot of money behind them, yeah, I'd say it's definitely competition. Will it turn into the Monday Night Wars? Well, because they're not going to technically be on the same night, but it certainly is competition. And I think it's good, because I think, you know, nobody loves competition more than Vince McMahon, and I think it's good. I think. Thank you very much. I think I showed my range as an actor.
Anywho, my question is, what are your greatest highlights in wrestling history?
Wow.
You know, I don't want to sit there and say there are so many, but there were so many.
You've earned that. You can say that.
Hey man, I'll tell you what, laying out there in WrestleMania 13, Bret Hart, who's one of my favorites of all time. I love Bret Hart. And the reality and the grit and the determination that he brought to the business was unparalleled. He was reality in wrestling. And so laying in a pool of blood, first of all, the whole match was great, but just laying there in a pool of blood, allegedly passed out while him and Ken Shamrock were taking care of business, laying there in that pool of blood, I was so satisfied because we had done the task at hand. We'd gone out and executed a double turn at the highest level possible and put on one of the most iconic matches in the history of pro wrestling. And the picture of me laying there or trying to get to that sharpshooter with the blood coming down my face, one of the most iconic photos. So miles from there. And to, at that time, an all-time indoor attendance record with The Rock. And The Rock was one of those guys where I brought out the best in him and he brought out the best in me. And that crowd was almost 50-50, but it was probably 52-48 Austin because we were in Texas. Had we been down in Miami, it could have been the other way. But that's the way it was. If you watch that thing back, and that was about 27 minutes of electricity going back and forth. And hey, I wish I hadn't turned heel at the end of that match, but I loved working with The Rock. And out of our trilogy of matches, being able to headline 3, 15, 17, and 19, when he would beat me and I would ride off into the sunset, 17 stands out as a highlight to me.
That's awesome.
You're just kind of playing it for what it is. Each week, you're never really going to, know how the crowd's going to respond. So based on what I'm feeling, I would have heart-to-hearts with Vince, and I'd say, man, I don't feel it, man, I'm not feeling it. Or he talked me into something. So it was a work in progress, and I was very hands-on, and he allowed me to be hands-on because you have to be.
Yeah.
And you have to trust each other. You saw some of those classic moments with myself and Vince. I loved working with that guy because when you work with someone, you want them to project back or exude that same passion and energy that you're giving them, because that's how it works. It's a give and take. And Vince was one of the few guys that when I was going, that his hatred for me and my, aggressive nature or hatred for him and storyline was so real that it felt like magic. But behind the scenes, a lot of communication and a lot of hands-on.
Right. Hi.
I'd have to go Hulk Hogan from the past because I just did a podcast with him down there at his home in Tampa. And that's the first time I really got a chance to know Terry. We've always kind of passed through territories or flipped territories and never spent a lot of time together. So hanging out with him was a real treat. And he said something to me. He said, if we'd have gotten to a room and kind of like cleared the air, just said, hey man, let's do this. Let's make some money. Because there was a lot of egos there, and I thought a little bit of clashing styles, and I have nothing but respect for him. So I would say Hulk Hogan from back in the day, current Brock Lesnar. Everybody knows that followed me. I showed up at Monday Night Raw. Well, I didn't show up at Monday Night Raw. I was working with Ric Flair the night before in a cage in Columbus, Georgia, and I heard the creative, and I thought it sucked, and bad business move on my part. But I thought it was so stupid, I decided to no-show the event and went back to Texas. I wouldn't work for about another 8 months. And so Brock Lesnar, to answer your question about current scene, who I would like to work with, because I wanted to make that one up. And myself and Brock would have put on a hell of a damn show. The reason I didn't job for that match was it's hard to get in a position to draw true money, and they just wanted me to roll over for him and make him in one night. Super bad business decision. The worst business decision was me not showing up.
Thank you.
Doing some beer tasting with a beer company in upstate New York, and we were going to call it Stone Cold Beer. But then all of a sudden, the thing with Brock happens, and I walk out of the company. So I would have been in beer business 15 years ago had I not, or longer than that, had I never walked out. So I always wanted to get back in the beer business. We started searching around, and my former agent, who works with UTA, was good friends with the owner of El Segundo Brewing Company, Rob Croxall. So I said, hey man, why don't we put you guys together and see if you guys like each other or speak the same language? We did. We sat around a table, created that beer, that recipe, and now we're increasing distribution because it's in such demand. And it's a tremendous IPA because it was built to my taste buds. So that's how it happened. I mean, it is. It's a high quality badass beer, and any beer snob will tell you that that's badass beer. It was a friend. My agent was a friend with the owner of El Segundo. That's how it happened. And I love being in business with them because they're very passionate about the products that they put out and stand by them 100%. And that's the same way I am.
How did that go about?
You know, I went in there too. It wasn't written for me. You're talking about the Expendables, right?
No, the Condemned.
Oh, The Condemned. Oh, The Condemned, man, who told me that movie? Someone brought me that movie and they said, man, this is a movie that needs to be made. And if you'd have saw the first original script, it was absolutely ridiculous. There were 8 rewrites of that movie and finally it turned out to what it turned into and got Vince behind it. And actually the Marine was supposed to be my first movie, and that was written for me. And here's how things work. So I got an agent, right? This is way back in the day when they really filmed The Marine. And you gotta have an opportunity to do something first. So it was the dumbest advice the damn agent ever gave me. And so John Cena made that movie, and a couple of years later we wrestled up The Condemned. And so The Condemned was basically, tailored around me. Don't always listen to an agent because they ain't as smart as they seem.
Isn't it kind of funny?
You know, obviously you know when something's really, really bad, but take the opportunity.
That's great advice for everyone who wants to really be an artist in any form. Yeah. Hi.
I have the answer just offhand for you because it require me to go back and watch. You know, I DVR both shows, and I watch when someone says, "Hey man, you got to see this." So I'd have to sit there and really look and study what they're doing and listen to them to give you the best answer possible. And I don't think I'm equipped right now to do that. But I think both guys are super talented, and both guys can get there. But it also has to do with their booking as well. You know, they got to put either one of them. If they put a green light on them, can achieve much more than they're already doing. But they got to green light them and keep the green light on them. Years younger.
But okay, my question is, like, outside of wrestling or any other wrestlers, how did you craft your character, and like, what are your influences in pop culture at that time when you were really going for that anti-hero and everyone, really changed for you?
Man, I really didn't have any influences at all. And remember that Stone Cold character was created because I was originally trying to be a heel off a serial killer, down there in Chicago, Iceman Richard Kuklinski. And I don't endorse anything the guy did. I'm just talking about I was trying to be a bad guy, and this guy was ruthless and remorseless. He only inspired the name. Everything else, just the aggressive nature, coming into my own. You gotta understand, like if you go back when Macho Man finally got to the WWF, hell, he'd been working 10 years. He was one of the best workers that there was. Vince puts a green light on him, and he turns into this global superstar. I was a nobody, but I had been in the business for 7.5 years, and I could pretty well work my ass off. So when I got that gimmick, I guess I was influenced the most by my competitive nature as a human being to try to kick, scratch, and claw to get to the top of the ladder. But cultural influences, I didn't look towards anything. I was trying to influence culture.
Well,
It's gonna be a real tough one, but I'll go WrestleMania 13, Bret Hart, WrestleMania 17, The Rock. A match that no one ever saw that wasn't there, Los Angeles, California, at the Forum with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And he was one of my favorite guys to work with. And I don't know, Calgary Stampede, that 10-man tag, however many guys were involved in that. Our team was supposed to be the baby faces. We go into Canada because that's our territory. They're the baby faces. So I was like a kid in a candy store. I said, hell, I'll work heel. And we tore that place down. So that's 3 or 4. And another high profile, I'm not gonna say 19. 19 hurt because that whole day was emotional. I was about to ride off into the sunset. I really enjoyed that 3 Stages of Hell that I did with Triple H in Las Vegas. And that guy, I'm laying there, we're both selling, Triple H is on top of me, his classic finish. And I had actually blown a couple of high spots in that match. I think I was coming back from some type of injury. I blew up. People think I never blew up. I blew up. We're laying there in a heap, and someone throws a damn beer can, a full beer can, over that cage and hits me right in the forehead. I like it, you know, if I could have just seen it and caught it, it'd been great. I wasn't ready for it.
You know it's going to be one of those special moments.
You just, from the get-go, I knew when we were working.
The WWE, the stunner is the best. My son tries to do it to me at least once a day for 20 years.
Has he succeeded?
He has succeeded a few times. The Battle of 2000 was one of the best. I was just curious, anytime that went wrong, because I mean, man, I can imagine it might have gone bad. And who do you still like to hang out with, or do you hang out with anybody from your career?
Oh, were you asking about a stunner going wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes your timing can get mixed up, and there's been a couple referees that blew it. You know, when you're going down, it's kind of a party question.
Anybody you still hang out with from the day?
No, me and Kevin Nash will still talk a lot, but you know, like I said earlier, man, I'm a loner. I'll text people every now and then, but
It was a great business chat. Awesome. From your podcast, you have recommended the CPAP. Do you still sleep with the CPAP? Because of your recommendation, I got on it. I'm sleeping great. What's your preferred mask?
man, I go, my machine is a ResMed. I use a full mask, because I was at the ear, nose, and throat doctor. Snoring, were you? Hey, dude, all you had to do was wake me up. I sleep with it every night. And so if you wear a CPAP, or if your wife or your husband tells you, hey, you're snoring like crazy or you're not breathing, go get a sleep check, man. Like I said, I'm an advocate for the CPAP machine.
And good for you. I'm glad you're sleeping better. We have time for two hard-hitting questions.
It's a lot more fun to get doused with beer than it is milk. Milk is sticky, and I like it on my Captain Crunch, but I don't want it all over my clothes. Beer, well, I gotta say, I used to do so many beer bashes back in the day, and I'd take a pretty good shower, but you still smell like beer, you know, so if I ever got pulled over, man, if I roll my window down, a cop just smell me and goes, you gotta be drunk. And there's many times when I walked out of that ring with a hell of a buzz because, you know, a lot of people say I spilled a lot of that beer. Yeah, I did. I'm in the show business. But you're drinking a lot of it too. You can go out there with a hell of a buzz, so I had to be responsible about it. But yeah, beer better than milk.
I think we all agree, right? Beer better. All right, last question. Hi, how are you?
Only in hindsight, you know, retrospect, I look at calling that audible.
Best of luck with the show. One more big round of applause. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Hey, thank you guys for coming out today. I appreciate all the support over all the years. I remember when I started wrestling a long time ago, and it was really the back end of 1989, and I was the 1990 Rookie of the Year. And I remember wrestling in front of 20 people before, and Chevrolet parking lots, getting suplex on a parking lot, and then finally you start climbing up the ranks, and you get some opportunity after fighting all the bureaucratic red tape, and you get on top, and then you go down for a neck surgery, and you come back, and the people come right back for you and support you. So to my fans that have always stuck with me through thick and thin, through my good decisions and my bad decisions, I'm thankful for every single one of you, and I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart.